I didn't see it until after the split, but after the split there seems to have been a much bigger like philosophical difference or divide there now, where we're seeing like one camp claiming that like Bitcoin's supposed to be, you know, spyable on everybody's transaction for everything all the time, and the Bitcoin Cash camp are just like, no, like we want this to be money, peer-to-peer money for the world, where anyone anywhere can send and receive any amount of money with anyone without needing to get permission and without being spied upon.
From Acapulco, Mexico, this is Anarchast.
Hey everybody, welcome to Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. I've got a great returning guest coming on. It's Roger Ver of Bitcoin.com, I guess you could say, and you could also say sort of a Bitcoin Cash as well. Those are the two things he's definitely most known for that I know of. He's also been around Bitcoin since pretty much the beginning, and a friend and an anarcho-capitalist, obviously. And actually, kind of sadly, Roger, you're not going to be able to make it to Acapulco this year. So it's, I think, have you been to every single one so far? Is this the first one you've missed?
Yeah, I think this will be the very, very first one I missed, and I'm really sad and disappointed about that. Unfortunately, I have some other obligations here in Tokyo that I couldn't shift, but I will absolutely be there at the next year's one. So I'm sad I'm not going to make it this year, but come next year you'll see me there, and come this year as well, so you can see exactly how amazing of a time it's going to be. It's absolutely fantastic. So you make me feel disappointed that I'm not going to be there now too. I really wish I could be there this year, but next year I'll be there.
Yeah, you definitely will be missed. He gave one of the better speeches last year at Acapulco. So sad you can't make it, but glad that you're planning on making it again next year. And I really want to get into a lot of stuff about Bitcoin Cash. There's been so much going on. Obviously, the sort of the big sort of thing that's happened in the last few months was the fork. I forget when that was. I'm sure you know the exact date as you're so involved, but it was definitely a few months ago. And it was switched. It's forked into Bitcoin ABC and Bitcoin SV. Maybe you could just tell us to start with, why did it even fork? Like, what was the whole deal behind what happened there?
I wish there was an easy answer I could give you. So there was one group that wanted to do things in the order of ABC, and not any reference to the ABC client, but they want to do, you know, 1, 2, 3 in that order, and the other group wanted to do 3, 2, 1, and everything would have kind of synced up within a couple of months anyhow, and that wasn't quite good enough. And then I didn't see it until after the split, but after the split there seems to have been a much bigger like philosophical difference or divide there now, where we're seeing like one camp claiming that like Bitcoin's supposed to be, you know, spyable on everybody's transaction for everything all the time, and the Bitcoin Cash camp are just like, no, like we want this to be money, peer-to-peer money for the world, where anyone anywhere can send and receive any amount of money with anyone without needing to get permission and without being spied upon. And speaking about being spied upon, one of the big improvements we have coming to the Bitcoin.com wallet shortly is we're having a coin shuffle built right into the wallet, where you'll be able to have very, very, very private Bitcoin Cash transactions done right from within your Bitcoin.com wallet. We hired a top-notch security audit firm to audit all the code for that, to make sure that it's not going to be trackable and that it's not going to be hackable, and this is going to be fantastic boon for Bitcoin Cash. You're going to have fast, instant, cheap, private transactions right there from your Bitcoin.com wallet with no sign-up or registration required whatsoever. You don't have to give your name, you don't have to give your email, you don't have to give your tax ID number. It's going to work for everyone, everywhere in the world. So if you have access to the internet, you'll have access to real peer-to-peer cash thanks to the Bitcoin.com wallet coming here very shortly.
That's great, and good to hear. That's been one of my kind of concerns, and that's actually why I was quite a supporter of Bitcoin Cash at the beginning, is because I saw that Bitcoin itself was really not going in the right direction in terms of being quite private, in terms of being usable as a cash, and it still isn't to this day. It's quite slow, and it's definitely quite expensive. There's moments where it isn't as expensive, but I even spent a few dollars just the other day transferring, and that's not going to work if you're going to be trying to buy something for $10 or $20 on the internet. That's just too much. So I was always a supporter of Bitcoin Cash from the beginning, because I saw that that was the goal. But then this fork has sort of confused a lot of people, and I have to say, including myself. And so you're talking about Bitcoin ABC wallet is going to have this, is that right? And not the SV one, right?
The Bitcoin.com wallet only supports the Bitcoin Cash. So there was a fork, and both were fighting over who got the Bitcoin Cash name, but the ABC version clearly has the Bitcoin Cash name at this point. The Bitcoin SV version, I wish those people great luck. I wish, you know, anybody that's trying to do anything that's peaceful, good luck with their projects. But I see from a lot of the, you know, quote-unquote thought leaders of the Bitcoin SV project, they're talking about, you know, we need to support the government, and we need government this and government that, and frankly, I don't think we need government this or government that, and that's why I got involved in Bitcoin in the first place. I want each individual to be in charge of their own lives, and I don't need some politician bossing me around or bossing my neighbor around. Like, let's build the tools so we can live our own lives without having to be beholden to these strangers that want to boss everybody around. That's the goal of Bitcoin Cash. That was the original goal of Bitcoin before a bunch of socialists took that over. And Bitcoin SV, you know, if you want to make your government coin, that's, you know, go for it, but don't force me to use it and don't expect me to want to use it. So.
Is that the biggest difference right now between Bitcoin Cash ABC and Bitcoin SV? Is they're a lot more focused on, I guess you could say, having it more regulatable by government? Or what would you say is the difference, actually? It's really difficult to tell. There's so much stuff going on, just keeping up to date on it. But what's the difference between the two at this moment in time, in your opinion?
Yeah, I don't really have an answer for you, other than there does seem to be... I feel like the Bitcoin Cash camp doesn't care about Bitcoin SV, and the Bitcoin SV camp, at this point I feel like the communities have pretty much come to terms with their going their separate ways. And if anybody from the SV camp wants to start using or continue using Bitcoin Cash, that's just fine with me. I have no problem with that. And if I want to use Bitcoin SV, I think that's just fine too. And if I want to use, you know, Dash or, you know, Monero, or take your pick, it's wonderful. We have a choice as to what sort of currency we want to use. That's a good thing, and I don't think anybody should be mad about people having more choices in the market.
I remember a few months ago you had this thing going on with Craig Wright, and he sent some, if I remember correctly, some pretty crazy looking emails to you, and it looked very like this was a highly disputed, very angry sort of confrontation, and the way you're talking at the moment, it doesn't sound like that at all. So was it that way, and then did things kind of simmer down after that, or what exactly happened there?
I don't know. I think it's kind of like the internet likes to make mountains out of molehills. It's like, just like you and I have both seen people, you know, right before we started filming, we were conspiring, right? We were talking about how you and I talk to each other maybe twice a year. And we enjoy our conversations, but, you know, we're not on the phone with each other every day. We talk very, very frequently. Yet all sorts of people on the internet love to claim, oh, Roger and Jeff are conspiring on this and that and doing all sorts of things. And, like, it's a bunch of nonsense, right? We rarely talk. And the internet loves to make out like, you know, myself and Craig Wright were, you know, best buddies and, you know, hanging out every weekend and, you know, going out to dinner all the time. And, like, I've met Craig, I don't know, in the last couple of years, I've probably met him in person somewhere between 5 and 10 times. I think I've had dinner with him 2 times, maybe 3 times. Like, it's interesting conversations. He's definitely like a smart, interesting guy. I wish him good luck with whatever he wants to do, so long as it's peaceful. And I wish he would do the same for me and my efforts. But I think philosophically, some of the things he said really seem to have changed. He used to really say some of these things like, hey, we're building peer-to-peer cash for the world. And now what he's saying much more recently is, hey, we need to build something that's controllable by governments and spyable and traceable, and government should be able to monitor everything you do. And, like, I'm not on board with that vision. So
no, me either. If that's what it's about, I'm not on board with that at all. And that's really kind of what was going on with Bitcoin to an extent. Not as much, I don't think, but I think that's the big part of the reason why Bitcoin Cash came into existence, was there was a lot of people trying to move it in sort of that sort of direction, and we didn't want to see that. So what's your take right now on where Bitcoin Cash is compared to, say, Bitcoin? Are you happy with where things are at? Are you sad where things are at? Because it is fairly low at the moment. Bitcoin Cash currently has $2 billion market cap. If you include Bitcoin SV, it's $3 billion. Bitcoin SV is about $1 billion right now, and then Bitcoin's at $60 billion. So definitely sort of at the lower end of the ratio where it's been. What's your take on it?
Yeah, I think we're busy building the tools to make it useful as cash for the world. And if you make something useful, people are going to use it. And anybody that tries to use BTC when the blocks are full and the fees are high, they switch to something else. And it would have been nice if everybody from BTC, when the fees became high, just switched directly to Bitcoin Cash. But some of them did. But some of them switched to Dash, and some of them switched to, you know, Zcash and this and that, and there's Smart Cash, and there's, you know, 1,001 different cryptocurrencies out there, and people switched from BTC to all of those different cryptocurrencies. And Bitcoin Cash got like a nice little chunk of that, but so did a bunch of these other ones there. And at the end of the day, you know, I wish all these projects good luck. If they're busy building permissionless peer-to-peer cash for the world, then I support it. And Bitcoin Cash, I think, has the best shot at doing that. It has one of the most passionate, communities. It has full support across the world on more than 100,000 websites accepting it, thanks to BitPay. It has full support in Coinbase. It has full support in blockchain.com. Of course, Bitcoin.com is busy supporting it. So the main thing it has detracting from it are a bunch of like socialists on the internet or sock puppets calling it names like Bcash and Btrash, but these are people that haven't ever actually tried using it and probably haven't really used cryptocurrency at all, period. So anybody that's used it can see it's fast, cheap, and reliable, and works fantastic. And if you haven't used it yet, I invite you to do that. And in fact, here, hey, you know what? Let's give a live demonstration here. So, Emil, you have your wallet on your phone handy? Here, we have a background here. So I wasn't planning to do this, but we just got, this is a candy machine. This is a QR code. Emil, come stand behind me, actually, so everyone can see. This is a QR code.
I'm afraid to... Oh, no, it actually works.
Yeah, so he's going to send 40 cents. He's scanning this QR code here. You can see. Here's a QR code. He's going to scan this. You scan it, send 40 cents, and this thing is probably going to dump candy all over the desk here. We're going to be careful. You send it? Yeah, 0.4 USD. So he's sending that. This is Emil, our CTO here at Bitcoin.com. Right. Usually we don't do additional guests on Anarchast, but I think this is so cool here. So go ahead and it's sending right there. Here it goes. And we didn't test this in advance. It was set up a bit. There it goes. And only one of the candies went outside of the box. All delicious. Tastes even better when you pay for it in Bitcoin Cash. So we're probably going to set this up. We were talking about doing it in St. Kitts where people can feed monkeys on a live stream. And I think people can watch on Twitch and then send to the QR code right there on Twitch and watch the monkeys get candy or peanuts or whatever with Bitcoin Cash. And I think that's the vision, is let's make this cash for the world.
Well, I have to say, Roger, I actually have been using Bitcoin Cash quite a bit. I also use Bitcoin. I've stuck with Bitcoin. I'm kind of hoping it still kind of works out and it ends up being what it was initially supposed to be. And it also has a lot of the brand, and a lot of the people still think that's the real Bitcoin. So there's reason to still hold it. But I have been using Bitcoin Cash quite a bit, and I've certainly enjoyed transferring and seeing like 1 cent transfer fees as opposed to Bitcoin, which, as I said, sometimes it's as low as 10 or 20 cents, but sometimes it's a couple bucks. And then, of course, we know if it really goes up in usage, it goes into $10, $20, $100. I actually spent like $200 on transferring last year. Yeah. So absolutely crazy. I'm curious about what you just showed us there, though. So you just transferred some Bitcoin Cash, and that machine's set up so that when it receives the Bitcoin Cash, it actually disperses the candy. But that was really quick. Was there some sort of trick there to...
No, so let me plug the company. Yeah. We bought this with Bitcoin Cash. You can buy it on Amazon. It's IOZeta is the company name that makes these, and they're selling them and other things. And if you want to try it out right now, you can go to chickens.cash is the website, and there's some farmer, I don't know where he is, maybe looks like, Idaho or maybe Canada or something like that. It's cold, there's lots of snow around, but he has a bunch of chickens with a live stream, and there's a Bitcoin Cash QR code, and you can, via the live stream, send Bitcoin Cash from your phone to the QR code, and he has one of these same candy machines there, and it spits out some chicken feed, and all the chickens go crazy eating the chicken food right there, and you can do that right now live today at chickens.cash, and I think it's a really fantastic example of how amazing peer-to-peer cash is for the world. And so I saw that, and I thought it was so fun, so we had to order one for the office here in Tokyo so we can play with it as well. And it's
really, I'm actually on the site right now. This is hilarious. Yeah, I'm gonna have to try that out. But I'm curious though, like that was so fast. Is there, because Bitcoin Cash still has like a block time of like 10 minutes or something, doesn't it?
So you've been around Bitcoin for a while, Jeff. You probably remember when Bitcoin transactions used to be just as fast. But what happened is a bunch of people with no understanding of economics or understanding of the business reasons why people would want to use Bitcoin, they implemented all sorts of things that made Bitcoin transactions, the BTC version of Bitcoin, they made them less reliable and easier to double spend, whereas Bitcoin Cash doesn't have any of those things. It doesn't have any of this replaced by fee nonsense. Once you've broadcasted a transaction to the Bitcoin Cash network, that's it. So the transactions are lightning fast. They cost like a 30th of a penny to transact in, and basically it behaves the way Bitcoin of like 2013 or 14 or 15 did, until a bunch of people with no economic understanding or business understanding broke the business reasons that Bitcoin became popular in the first place. And Bitcoin Cash still has those. So I'm still super, super bullish on the long run future of Bitcoin Cash. And we just saw, or I saw it anyhow, I don't know if you noticed, the CEO of Twitter just came out recently saying that he's a big fan of the BTC version and he's an investor in Lightning Network and this and that. And it's really interesting. And this is the guy that is, the founder of one of the biggest social media platforms that's been deleting anybody's account that has an opinion he doesn't like with. To me, that's the exact opposite of this spirit and ethos of cryptocurrency. Cryptocurrency is supposed to be for everyone, everywhere, regardless of their political opinions. And to me, it seems clear, like you have a bunch of socialists and state worshippers who love BTC because they see it as a way for them to get rich, and they hate Bitcoin Cash because they see it as a tool to empower individuals to have more control over their own lives. We saw it in Acapulco last year. The vast majority of the attendees there, they're of course anarcho-capitalists, and the vast majority were big fans of Bitcoin Cash, or anything that works to bring more economic freedom to the world. We don't like Bitcoin Cash because it's Bitcoin Cash. We like it because it brings more economic freedom to the world. And I don't hear much of that sort of speech from the BTC camp. I don't hear them talking about how we're going to liberate the world and bring more economic freedom to the world. I don't hear that message coming from them at all. I just hear a bunch of name calling for Bcash is fake Bitcoin. Well, so even if it was, so what? If it works and it brings more economic freedom to the world, then it's a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I totally forgot that Bitcoin used to be faster. I got used to it over the last few years. Yeah, I got used to it over the last few years. I'm like, yeah, it takes about 5 minutes, sometimes 10 minutes, and it costs sometimes $1 or $2. I don't like it, but I actually forgot that it used to be like lightning fast, like Bitcoin Cash is right now. So I actually wasn't fully aware of that. I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I always say that. I'm not a super techie, but I just did not realize that Bitcoin Cash not only is way, way cheaper than Bitcoin, but way, way faster, which is so important if it's going to be used as anything even close to cash. So great information. I didn't even fully realize that. So is there anything else about Bitcoin Cash that people are working on that we should know about? Any interesting things? I know that there was a lot of talk a while ago, and I'm a bit out of the loop. I'm busy with so many things about doing like smart contracts and things like that. A lot of the things that Bitcoin was initially talking about doing, but then couldn't do after all the changes got made. Is there anything like that going on with Bitcoin Cash?
Yeah, a really exciting wallet just came out that Bitcoin.com just acquired as well. It's called Badger Wallet. You can get it for free at badger.bitcoin.com. It's a Google Chrome or a Firefox extension. And not only does it make it super, super easy to send and receive Bitcoin Cash, but you can now send and receive whatever token you want on the Bitcoin Cash network. So there's all sorts of tokens are now on top of Bitcoin Cash. So if you want to tokenize Anarchapulco for 2020, we can do that now on the Bitcoin Cash blockchain. And the biggest tokenization platform that we're working on right now is with a company called ACD, which is called Alliance Cargo Direct here in Japan, which is a sub-company, or it's a part of ANA Group, like as in ANA Airlines, which is like the biggest airline in all of Japan. And they've issued their token here on the Bitcoin Cash network, and they're going to be doing all sorts of fun stuff to spread Bitcoin Cash adoption here in Japan. And at Bitcoin.com, we're busy helping them with that. So for anybody that's in Japan, you're aware of ANA Group, and it's just a monster conglomerate of companies here in Japan. And we're really excited to have them on board with a message of, peer-to-peer cash for the world. And so if you haven't tried the Badger Wallet, it's really neat. And one of the really amazing examples of showing how interesting it is Satoshi Dice, one of like the first and original gambling websites ever for Bitcoin back in, I don't know when it launched, 2012 maybe or something. It at one point was responsible for like 80 or 90% of all Bitcoin transactions on the entire network. They just integrated what's called the Badger button, which basically you go to a website and you literally just click a button and then you've paid. And so people are able to play Satoshi Dice now using the Badger wallet on there, and you just click, 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 click. And I can see why it's so popular. It's really gives the same user experience that Bitcoin used to have before a bunch of people that didn't have any economic understanding of why Bitcoin became popular went and broke the BTC version of Bitcoin. Bitcoin Cash still has that snappiness and that low fee, fast transaction, peer-to-peer cash feeling for the world. And a great example of it is over there at Satoshi Dice that just I was looking at it last night. It was pretty neat.
Yeah, it's great to catch up with you, and I'm so sad you're not making it to Acapulco, because that's actually one of the great things about things like Cryptopulco is getting together with people like you and so many other people and hearing what everyone's working on and stuff like that. So I'm glad we at least got to get to do this over the internet since you can't make it this year, but very interesting stuff. So one question to you about Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash. Could you kind of see that Bitcoin ends up being kind of like what they want it to be, which is digital gold, and a lot of like the institutional people will all kind of hold some, and it'll be kind of like gold. They'll kind of hold it. But something like Bitcoin Cash could end up being the actual cash, the thing that people use day to day on the internet for payments for almost anything. Is that a kind of a future that you could see happening? Because that makes a lot of sense to me at the moment.
In the short term, maybe, but in the long term, I don't think so. So, like, you know, lots of people watching this video will hold gold, but the reason they're holding gold is because they don't trust, you know, the dollar or the peso or the euro, because they can print as many as they want at any reason. If we knew 100% for sure that the dollars we can spend at every store in our neighborhood cannot be inflated or debased, then people would just hold dollars instead of gold. And I think the same is true of Bitcoin Cash. If you get to spend Bitcoin Cash everywhere, and we're guaranteed there's a limited supply, what do you need to hold BTC for that's slow, expensive, and unreliable when you can hold Bitcoin Cash that's fast, cheap, and reliable, and you can spend it everywhere? There's no point in BTC at that point. And so that's how I see in the long term. I think people want to hold whatever crypto asset is spendable everywhere, not the one that's not spendable everywhere. So.
That's an excellent point. I didn't even consider that fully, and I think you make an excellent point there. Final question. I know you're a busy guy, unless you got some other things you want to talk about, but you know, we've gone through, in the last year, a real pullback in the crypto market from over $800 billion market cap for all the cryptos down to about $100 billion now. So about a 90%, 95% drop across the board. Pretty massive by most gauges. You know, for someone like yourself, and a lot of people are probably just curious about this. You've been in it since, you know, very early. You've seen a lot of these crashes. How has this personally felt for you over the last year? Has this been really tough, or are you actually, like, I'll just say, me personally, I actually now own more crypto. I own more Bitcoin. I own more Bitcoin Cash than I've ever owned, because of this pullback, because I've been buying just in the last couple months, and because it's gone down so much, and I took some profits near the top, that I've been able to get more crypto than I've ever had. What's your take on the last year or two? You know, has it been tough, or is it just something you're used to, or what's your take on it?
And of course, it's more fun when the price is going up than when it's going down. But to be honest, like, I think the price is just like the side effect of the adoption in commerce. The more adoption you can get in actual commerce, the higher the price will go. And if you just, like the BTC camp, if you're like shunning the people using it in commerce and saying don't spend your BTC, just hold it and never use it, you're destroying the reason that people would have to actually hold it. So I'm most interested in the cryptocurrencies that are actually being used in commerce. And I think probably a good way to get an indication of that too is like which cryptocurrencies are being used on the darknet as well, because that's where, like, it's really the currencies that actually have good characteristics as currencies will really shine and get adoption. And of course, you know, the privacy coins, the Monero and Zcash, have good traction, but Bitcoin Cash has pretty significant traction on the darknet as well, which is interesting to see that. So at the end of the day, I think the price is just a side effect. So let's all be busy building the tools. And Warren Buffett's a statist through and through, but it's undeniable that he's a really savvy, smart investor. And what he says, it says, be greedy when others are fearful. And so many people are fearful in the crypto market right now, which to me means it's time to be greedy and buy up some more. But buy the ones that are actually going to be useful. And I think the cryptocurrency that you would want to, you know, hold is the one that you're going to be able to spend everywhere later. And if you're not able to spend it, there's no reason to hold it.
Yeah, totally agree, and I feel the same as you. I think you know, we're pretty close to the bottom, if we're not at the bottom already. And for people out there, if they kind of felt like they missed the boat last year, and it's so funny because last year you see Bitcoin hit like $10,000, and everyone's like, oh, if it just goes back to 6,000, I'll buy as much as I can. And then it goes to 15. They're like, if it just goes back to 10, and then it went to 20, and now it's down to like 3, and everyone's like, I'm never going to touch this. This thing's going to 0. That's just the psychology of the market. But I think
be greedy when others are fearful, and I think Bitcoin Cash is an even better buying opportunity. Right? It's $120, $100 something bucks, and you can spend it at more than 100,000 websites on the world, and it's faster, cheaper, and more reliable to use than BTC. Like, to me, the value proposition there is tremendous.
Yeah, I agree, and we've recommended the Dollar Vigilante to at least buy as much Bitcoin Cash as you buy Bitcoin, in terms of 1 coin for 1 coin minimum, sort of a thing. Just we don't know what's going to happen here. I really hope Bitcoin Cash ends up being the winner. I totally do, because it's got one of the best outlooks out there for people who don't want big government involved in the money system, and for it to actually be used as cash, so we can get rid of central banks, which will end up getting rid of most governments. You know the whole plan.
I'm on board.
And hopefully,
yeah.
And what's your take? Are we still like? Are you excited about where we're at? Do you think the next couple of years is going to be super exciting? Do you think as much as a lot of people are really down on the market that we're not in too bad a shape at this moment in time?
Yeah, I'm really excited. I just wish that there were more software developers here to build more awesome tools. But we're busy building all sorts of fun things at Bitcoin.com. Another one that I think we have to make sure that the supply chain and everything works out just fine. But I think we're going to be able to sell, dozens and dozens of gift cards to anybody at a 10% discount. So basically any gift card that Amazon offers other than Amazon gift cards at a 10% discount. So that's like, Safeway and Whole Foods and Starbucks and, there's over 100 different gift cards. I think we'll be able to offer them to anybody at 10% off for Bitcoin Cash. And we're busy putting together the pieces for that. And I think that'll be a pretty compelling use case for Bitcoin Cash at that point as well.
That sounds similar to Purse.io. How is it that you'd be able to offer gift cards at 10% off?
We're trying to leverage the exact same system that Purse.io uses to get their discount on Amazon. So there's people out there with excess Amazon credit that can be used to buy things on Amazon. We just need to make sure we can handle all the chargebacks and that sort of issue. But I think we'll be able to give people a really smooth user experience with no problems or issues. And anybody that hasn't tried Purse yet, 20% off every purchase from Amazon. Fantastic. Give it a try. The candy and the candy vending machine right here we bought on Purse.io with Bitcoin Cash. So.
That's great. Good to talk to you, Roger. Is there anything else that we haven't mentioned you want to let anyone know?
Yeah, if you haven't bought your tickets to Anarchapulco already, what are you waiting for? You're going to absolutely love it. You're going to be surrounded. People, us anarcho-capitalists, we go through our day-to-day lives most of the time feeling alone because there's not too many of us around us, oftentimes at work or school or in our social, lives going about day-to-day business. If you go to Anarchapulco, you're going to be surrounded by people that see the world very similar to yourself and are interested in the same ideas and same topics that you are. So you're just going to feel like you've arrived at, your promised land with all these people that you just absolutely love talking with and being around. And so, don't waste any more time. Buy your ticket today and buy your plane tickets to get down there, and you will not regret it. And see me there next year as well.
Yeah, you only have a few days left, but still possible, totally possible to get down. So if you want to, and I know that Sterling Lujan will be there speaking on behalf of Bitcoin.com without you being there this year, Roger, and definitely hope to see you again next year. And if you like this video, please like, subscribe, share down below, and we'll let Roger get back to work building hopefully the money of the future that everyone uses and get rid of central banks and governments. And that's it for Anarchast, your home for anarchy on the internet. Peace, love, and anarchy.
These ideas about not wanting to use violence against people and not wanting to steal and extort them.
And they try to tell us that the liberty movement is dead. That's a bunch of baloney. It's alive and well.
All freedom is our natural and eternal right.
And shout this message about what real liberty and freedom mean, but for everybody.
And I think that we should start a revolution here today.
Peace, love, and anarchy.